Hello, everyone. Welcome to the PR Week, the weekly roundup of everything that's important that's going on in the PR and communications industry. Filling in for your usual host, Steve Barrett, I'm Gideon Fiddles. I'm managing editor of PR Week, and you probably knew that just by the subdued tone of my introduction. Fortunately for you all, I'm joined by two terrific guests, my colleagues at PR Week, Diana Bradley, Associate News Editor, and a new face to the PR Week crowd who I am actually going to give the floor to tell a little bit about ourselves.
Great.
Thomas Moore, Senior Reporter. Thomas, first of all, welcome to PR Week. I know you've been here for about a month or so?
Just a little over a month.
Okay, and you come from Vegas. And by the
do.
way, before we get into Tom, I don't want to steal his thunder, but I said I was going to do this, so I'm going to say this. For all you Golden Knights fans out there, I think it's awesome what you guys are doing. And this is a New Yorker talking. I'm not a Golden Knights fan, but it's pretty incredible that they're in the Stanley Cup semifinals. So go Knights.
No one predicted that would happen. At the paper I worked with, one of our reporters thought that they would have a decent season and they wouldn't lose badly because they had a good defensive lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the pro. Even though I'm from Canada, he knows hockey in and out. And it's just blowing everybody away in the city.
I was actually in Vegas for the NAB show, and legitimately, I mean, everyone was crazy about the team. They even built in the Bellagio. Built is not the right word, but there was a 5-foot chocolate sculpture of the goaltender, Marc-Andre Fleury, who's probably their best-known player nationally. I heard it was delicious. I didn't partake in it.
They're playing it for all it's worth.
They really
There's
are.
Caesar's Palace statues with hockey sticks in them. It's everywhere.
Pretty crazy, but
Yeah.
of greater interest, of course. Thomas, tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I moved here from Las Vegas, like you said. I was working at the Las Vegas Sun, where I was covering casinos and gaming, and the Sun is one of two daily newspapers there. Prior to that, I worked at the other daily newspaper on their online team, the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and before that, I was largely in the utility industry, marketing and public relations, and some web development.
Excellent. Well, like I said, you've broken some really great stories so far, so we're really,
Great.
really happy to have you. I don't want to completely at all ignore the wonderful Diana Bradley. So you're also fairly new to your associate news editor role, correct?
I am. Yes.
So how's that been treating you so far?
It's a lot of extra responsibility, but it's welcome. I mean, it's
Well,
I like it. Writing and editing.
Excellent.
I'm writing just as much as I was before, but now also editing.
Well, you can all rest assured out there that PR Week is one of the hardest working teams in the trade business. So
Yeah, we're a very small team, but
but very powerful too.
hard.
And that, by the way, that includes Perry Simpson, who's behind the camera over there. You're not going to see him, but he works really, really hard too and does a great job also. So we all just love each other. So anyway, okay, shut up, Gideon. Let's get on. Let's get on with the podcast.
Yeah.
But anyway, I promised you we're going to talk about some of the really great things that are happening in the PR, important things that are happening in the PR and communications world, and indeed we are. So. Some the things that we're going to talk about today, there are some major news on the sports gambling front this week, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. You might have heard that someone is getting married this weekend. We'll probably Harry and Meghan, right? I think that's her name. Yes, it's
Who are
Meghan.
they? Never heard of them.
Oh, you spent time in England. Of course, she's joking. Of course, we're talking about the royal wedding, and we will cover that a little bit. Some big news from Burson Conan Wolf. Obviously, the fact that there is a Burson Conan Wolf is pretty big news in and of itself.
Yeah.
But something specific happened this week, and we're going to talk about a story that we I believe broke earlier today. Actually, also. You might remember from 2015 there was this big craze about the dress, whether it was black and blue, colors I'm unfortunately way too familiar with, or white and gold. And now we have the audio version of that apparently, whether it's what were the name? It's Yanny or Laurel, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure you all know about it. Thanks to the folks at
Yeah.
Reddit who brought this to us. A 4-second audio clip has the entire world abuzz. We're going to talk about that as well. So first of all, I want to get right to this. Obviously, earlier this week, Thomas, the Supreme Court made a ruling that basically lifts the national ban on sports betting.
It does.
I know. I shouldn't admit this, but that really has me excited. No, I'm kidding.
I'm sure a lot of people are.
It doesn't have my wife excited at all, I'll tell you that. But anyway, it's a pretty big story broadly, but also from our perspective, there's a lot of brands who have some lucrative and very public partnerships with both pro and college sports teams, sports leagues, sports events. So there's definitely a comms angle here. And you also did a really great interview with someone from the American Gaming Association.
Sarah Slane, the senior VP, runs public affairs, communications, industry outreach. She's the overall comms person for the American Gaming Association, which is the trade group for the gambling industry in the United States.
It's interesting the gambling industry has a trade group.
Yeah. Well, and statewide, they have a lot. Well, I mean, there's the old perception that the gaming industry, that in Nevada at least, they like to call themselves the gaming industry, and the trade group's name is the American Gaming Association. Everyone else calls it gambling, of course, but they really have worked very hard to distance themselves from maybe the perception you might have from watching old movies like Goodfellas and Casino and that sort of thing, right? So, but yeah, Sarah talked about the campaign because I was aware of it before I started at PR Week. I was one of the people they had reached out to. They were reaching out to journalists and legislators. And when I interviewed her, I thought one of the really interesting things she was saying that is they didn't run out to try to introduce a bill. And I think that not being a comms, professional comms in charge of it, was a smart move. I think the Supreme Court decision was the best possible outcome for them. So over the last couple of years, there's been sort of another debate that had gone on for a while over legalized internet gambling, and that wasn't it didn't have such a smooth outcome for the industry. There was some major players in the industry that had a problem with it, and she used the term alignment, talking about her campaign, meaning that they had the casino companies all on board with their other stakeholders. And I think the fact that this was decided at the Supreme Court level meant there wouldn't be a national debate on legalizing sports betting. It just struck down a law that prevented it. So
and they're basically leaving it up to the states.
Yeah, now it's a
what they wanna
states'
do.
right issue. So, and in all the states, the gaming companies have much closer relationships with the regulators and the politicians. From a brand perspective, I made a few notes just from my experience of living and working in Las Vegas. Even though sports betting is in effect going to be legal now, once the states that don't have a regulatory structure create one, it doesn't mean that there aren't some issues that brands have to take into consideration. And I think the first one is going to be problem gambling. So now casino companies, in at least the ones based in Las Vegas and other ones as well, have programs to deal with this. But it's become an issue. The UK just passed some limits on gambling because they're dealing with what they think is people's willingness to spend more money than they should on gambling. And so there have been some critics that say the industry in the U.S. hasn't done enough to address the problem. There have even been some critics that compare the gambling industry's marketing and appeal to gamblers as feeding an addiction in the same way that the tobacco industry deliberately fed people's addiction to nicotine. And so that's something that I would think, if you're a marketer, that you'd have to keep in mind. The other thing I think they would need to really keep in mind is inadvertently marketing gambling if they're involved directly with sports betting companies to children. So that's another issue that's been big in the UK, and it's a bright red line for regulators. At least it was in Nevada, and I'm sure it will be around the country too. So I'd say that marketers should look to some of the work that casino companies have already done for cues on how to deal with these things, because you don't want to get the unfavorable attention of regulators.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And speaking of regulation, I'm sure anyone who markets for healthcare companies in the pharmaceutical industry will sort of sympathize for new marketers that take on gambling marketing, because it's also a very highly regulated industry. And I've sat through the regulatory hearings, and they are exhaustive.
Wow.
If somehow a company ends up with an ownership stake in a gambling company, they can expect a very extensive and in-depth investigation into their background. And even if they don't have an ownership company, if an issue comes up, there's a chance they could be called into one of those hearings.
Wow.
So they need to be cautious.
Well, that's
in how they approach
wow.
it.
That's really enlightening. I mean, I don't think I've ever really thought about the topic of gambling and regulations and all that kind of stuff. It's really kind of interesting.
It's very serious. The investigations go deep, deep into people's pasts. Anyone who has an ownership stake or is in the executive level of a gaming company has to fill out a very, very long application process. And if they are less than candid, even by omission, they get called out on it.
Interesting. Wow.
So there's some very competent attorneys, at least in Nevada, that can advise them on that.
Well, it's really good to know the issue is being taken seriously. So that's very encouraging. I think on a complete 180 now, we'll move over to royalty now. Obviously, this Saturday there is a big wedding happening in the UK. Prince Harry is marrying the star of Suits, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Meghan Markle. It is not a show I ever watched, but I did know that much. Obviously, everyone in the UK and the world, quite frankly, has a buzz about it. It's obviously a big thing. The royal wedding is a huge deal. We remember when Kate and, my God, you know I'm American when I forget her husband's name.
William.
Thank you. Of course, I remember the wife's name, of course. Oh, that was terrible, Gideon. But anyway, but actually, obviously, the one thing that's really, really interesting for us is, besides the wedding, and congratulations to the happy couple, of course, is that there's a lot of brand activations happening around the royal wedding. So I do find it somewhat appropriate that if we're going to be talking about the royal family, that someone named Diana is going to be talking about it. You get it? You get it? Huh, Princess Diana?
Yeah, my whole life I've lived with this nickname.
Oh.
And
Do they call you
thank
Princess Diana?
Yes, I've had many a person.
I wouldn't suggest you do that.
No, I won't do that, but you...
Princess Di as well. Please, nobody. Nobody is allowed to call me Di.
Okay.
No, it's like a threat.
Okay.
So yeah.
Do you want to know what they call me?
What do they call you?
Family show, can't say. But anyway, enough with the terrible jokes, Gideon. But anyway, brand activations around the royal wedding. Actually, Diana's been covering this pretty extensively. Some good, some not so good.
Yes.
So Diana, please enlighten us on some of the things that you've noticed.
Sure. So of course, brands are clamoring to create campaigns in relation to this event, and it works even better for brands this time around, this wedding, because of the fact that there's an American marrying a Brit this time. So U.S. consumers, there's more room to be creative in communicating to U.S. consumers. I talked to some experts recently who provided some tips about do's and don'ts for a royal wedding campaign. As with anything, if a brand doesn't have a real connection to the event, it might look like they're jumping on a bandwagon. So it needs to somehow feel authentic to the brand and what the royal family stands for, or the campaign might fall flat. If you do decide to just do something quirky to get in on the conversation, it might generate quick media hits or social media coverage, but in terms of true brand value, the effort would not be long-lasting. So some interesting campaigns that I wanted to highlight. The first one was SodaStream, which makes the DIY seltzer equipment. They developed a set of commemorative bottles, each with its own miniature fascinator. So the weird little hats that people wear.
Really?
In celebration of the royal wedding in the UK.
I actually got a SodaStream as a gift a few years ago.
Did it have a little hat on its head?
I hate to say this, it's basically a paperweight. So I wouldn't know.
You know what? We got one too, and it's the same thing happened. We barely used it, and then that was it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a Coca-Cola and sometimes Pepsi. Don't want to offend anybody, guys. So yeah.
No
SodaStream.
RC.
Oh my God, RC Cola. I am certainly
Does
old
that
enough to
still
remember
exist?
that, but I'm sorry.
I don't
Does
know.
RC Cola still exist?
You want to know the truth? I honestly do not know. I mean,
Okay.
you got your Coach, you got Coke, you got Pepsi, you got Dr. Brown's, which I love, but which
I don't think I've ever had that.
well, anyway.
Anyways, we're off topic.
I'm a Diet Coke person.
See, this is what happens when Steve's not around to keep things in order. The conversation goes crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Diana, please continue.
So bottles with fascinators on their head. I think it's a cute idea, and also as part of their effort, they're raising money to help in the fight against plastic pollution. So there's a great cause marketing aspect there too. Another campaign was Omni Berkshire Place in New York City. The hotel is offering a room service high tea experience, complete with a butler rolling a cart piled with an assortment of tea, finger sandwiches, and pastries into guests' rooms, And hotel guests can also order a royal viewing party breakfast to their room, which includes a mimosa flight and full English breakfast. So that ties in well with the
that makes sense.
wedding.
That makes sense.
Hidden Valley Ranch, they gave one of their bottles a makeover fit for a princess. This is what it says in their statement. The brand had an unnamed A-list celebrity jeweler design one ornate $35,000 jewel-encrusted bottle of dressing that will be gifted to a winner via social media in the weeks after the wedding.
Seems like a reach.
Yeah.
Ranch dressing seems like a reach.
It's a quirky one. It's a quirky one, and it's getting attention. There's a contest, and I think they started the contest on Ranch Dressing Day. Perry's laughing. I think they started the contest on Ranch Dressing Day, which was like in early.
Wait a minute. There's a ranch dressing day?
There's a day for everything.
There's only 365 days in the year. There can't be a day for everything.
Well, that's why they need days like
Multiple
that.
days shared.
Oh my
You know,
God!
you need
So let me get this straight, Dan. So you got listen. It's a creative idea, I guess. A $35,000 bottle of salad dressing. This is basically what it is, right?
Yeah.
That some 3-year-old kid could just grab and do stuff with, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
a 3-year-old
You gotta
princess
put it in a special
can
cabinet.
afford it.
Maybe maybe
that's
a
the
3-year-old
tie-in,
princess
right?
can do it. That's not bad. Okay.
can buy
Wow,
royal
that's
dress
interesting.
dressing.
And just one more I wanted to talk about. Velveeta announced royal wedding-themed macaroni and cheese called Crowns and Cheese, a new take on Velveeta's shells and cheese pasta, featuring crown-shaped noodles covered in the classic yellow-orange flavoring. And to make the eating experience feel extra luxurious, each box will also come with a gold-plated spoon in a deluxe gold foil box.
Wow.
So brands are getting, this is very creative stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I don't really know what the tie-in is to.
My guess is
Yeah.
that there's never been an instance where Velveeta was eaten in the Buckingham Palace.
That is
That's
my
true.
guess. I'm just-
You know, but
Yeah.
maybe the royal children, like, children.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta go for that kind of stuff.
And listen,
You know?
let's not forget they're bringing an American into the royal family now with all of
Yeah.
America's habits and
There you
trends
go,
and
right.
everything. Who knows what's going to happen?
That's true.
They might start playing baseball in Buckingham Palace. Who knows? I have no idea if
That's true.
I have no idea if Meghan Markle's a baseball fan or not.
The
but
palace is big enough.
interesting.
Yeah.
They
Anyway,
can use a room. Yeah,
Right.
I'm going too far with this.
Um,
So yeah, that's basically.
well, not as far as a $35,000 bottle of dressing, but anyway.
That's very true. That's very
Oh well, okay. Oh yeah, Diana. I was going to say. I was going to start saying
Oh, no.
and I wasn't going to do
Oh,
that
God.
because I don't want anyone
Oh,
to see
man.
Diana beating me up on video here. So, so anyway, now on to Burson Conan Wolf, and obviously the
Yeah.
fact, as I noted, Burson Conan Wolf, the fact that it is an agency now was a huge story, which was obviously a huge story earlier this year. I believe it created in our agency business report, which obviously came out on May 1st. I believe it created an agency that became, by revenue, the third largest agency in the world. So, not an insignificant agency by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But what we're specifically talking about here is it is expanding a noted tech agency into the U.S. And Thomas broke the story earlier today. So
Yeah.
Thomas, can you tell us a little bit about
Yeah, they are merging two companies that they own, north of 9, and the U.S. office of PPR. Now, PPR has offices all over the world, but just the U.S. office, according to the company, is merging with north of 9 and becoming Axiom US. So there's an Axiom tech marketing
Axicom.
firm.
It's Axicom, that's right,
Axiom,
yeah.
not
Yeah.
Axiom. Apologies. My notes misled me.
That's okay.
So they have a large presence in Europe, and they had offices here in the U.S. And now with these, the combination of these two firms will become part of Axicom US and increase their tech-com presence.
Excellent.
in the country.
Just a continuing evolution of an agency
Well,
that's really.
Yeah, combinations. I mean, what I hope comes of all this is that, as someone who's really new to the beat, having worked for casinos, is I hope that the agency landscape becomes simpler, because it seems like there are agencies that buy smaller agencies, and those larger agencies are in turn parts of networks, which are in turn parts of holding companies, which at a certain point becomes very difficult to understand. I used to work for the utility industry, and a holding company had a very specific legal meaning, and so I'm learning the landscape. So
Right.
I will welcome any PR people out there, presidents of agencies, to take me out for lunch so I can meet you and you can explain how this all works, and we can establish a long and fruitful relationship, and I can report
And I'm sure Thomas would be happy just to
accurately
have,
on your company.
I'm sure Thomas would be happy just to have lunch without the explanation, probably.
Yeah, and lunch, reporters and lunch.
Absolutely.
Goes together.
That always works. Of course, in my case, they always make me pay for it. I wonder why that is. But anyway, thank you for that, Thomas. And now, Yanny or Laurel? Okay.
Shall I play a recording here?
Set it up.
Who's,
Set it
who's,
up.
who's hosting this, Diana? Jeez.
There's going to be
Give me a
someone who
second.
doesn't know what this is, so you need to
Well,
set it up.
it's actually funny, by the way, there was one line I was going to say before the royal wedding conversation that I didn't say, but I'm going to say it now. I was going to say, unless you're living under a rock, you realize that the royal wedding is going on this weekend. So I was going to kind of say, in a similar vein, I think unless you're living under a rock, but maybe that's a little strong, you probably heard about this Yanny and Laurel thing, but Diana is eager to do something here. She wants to play the audio for you just so you have an idea of what we're talking about. So Diana,
Yes.
take it away.
So as you're listening to this, think about what do you think is being said?
Laurel. 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 Laurel.
Okay. So now, I pose this question to everybody in the room. What do you think was just being said?
Yanny.
I agree, but the ironic thing is, I listened to it this morning, and I was going to say it was totally Laurel. So I mean, okay, this is weird.
Sounds like it's very clearly
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I
Wow.
I don't need another controversy like this to distract my ADD-like attention from
Oh.
things I need to be doing.
Oh, I
The dress
I
thing
feel-
was
I feel
bad
your
enough,
pain. I feel
and
your
this
pain.
is like, and now I guess even what the Philadelphia Police Department got in on the marketing brand association with this controversy
Yeah.
and said, please don't call 911 to ask
To
us
figure out,
which it
like-
is. So I thought, well, everyone's got to have.
Oh.
One thing about these things is that it does give brands an opportunity to be cute.
It does,
And
and
maybe
this particular one is like
Good segue.
universal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like yeah.
They don't have to be as creative because it's already out there and people are talking about it. So what are we going to put out on Twitter today that's going to tell everybody how clever we are?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God someone came up with this.
It's true.
Now we can just do this thing, click, go on to the next thing we have to do.
Yeah.
No, but it really is interesting how this 4-second clip is just. I mean, it's gonna have impact a lot longer than 4 seconds. But do you not to put you on the spot, Dan, but do you have you noticed any brand activations again that might be
Yes.
interesting?
So we actually compiled a list of 18 brands that took part in this particular real-time moment. And one of my favorites was from Warby Parker, which used the opportunity to promote its Laurel model of glasses, but then called it Yanny in a tweet. And I also liked Carl's Jr.'s tweet. They posted a picture of their logo, which is a star, and it was crying, and it had the text, "When you don't hear Yanny or Laurel because you don't have any ears." So I thought that was kind of cute.
Interesting. I guess it's kind of interesting that a glasses company is taking advantage of an audio.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
I don't know. Just thought it was interesting. And I guarantee if you played it again now, I would probably hear Laurel. You don't have to do it.
I
It's good,
I
though.
started off hearing Yanny, and then later that night I was showing it to my husband, and he heard Yanny, and then at that point I heard Laurel.
So,
And now when I
yeah.
listen to it, like while I'm listening to it, it changes midway.
And what do dogs hear?
That's a great
I need
question.
to get someone that is involved in neuroscience and marketing to explain to us why, after thinking it sounds like one thing, someone suggests to you it might be something else, and then you suddenly hear a different entire pronunciation.
I would probably imagine because of what happened with the dress. There's probably articles out there that probably explain
Explain, yeah.
neurologically why that happens, which is probably just way over my head. But no, but it really is kind of interesting, and it's fun. But I guess the other question is, has the singer Yanny gotten involved in this in any way?
He did. I can't remember exactly what he did though. Yeah. He did though.
and
So check
Good for
his
him.
Twitter page.
Good,
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good. At least he has a sense of humor, probably better than
I
mine.
haven't even heard of Yanni in years. This is
You
like
know
the
he's
first
still
time
out
I've
there
heard.
doing stuff. He's one of those artists that'll be around forever.
It's true. This is like a good
Yeah,
comeback
like-
opportunity for him.
Like Kenny G, Michael Bolton, and
That's what he should have tweeted. Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, I'm just proving how old I am. I'll stop now. But anyway, listen, guys, thank you for all that terrific insight, and that was fun too. But before we leave you today, and you'll all be happy to know that Steve Barrett will be back in this seat next week. I know I'll be happy to know that. Before we sign off, just a couple of housekeeping notes, though. First of all, Chris Daniels actually wrote a really, really interesting piece, I think it was about a week ago, about YouTube stars
Yeah.
taking their talents to other platforms. So it's on PRweek.com right now. Chris Daniels wrote it, our fine Canadian-based our colleague, so check that out. PR Week and Boston University are doing a bellwether survey. It's in the final days of being open, so I know a lot of people take it already, but if you get the opportunity, check out our breakfast briefing, which I'm sure you all get. A link to the survey is in there, so you definitely want to take that out. Also, something that I'm personally involved in, which I'm really, really proud of, is the 8th Annual Diversity, Distinction, and PR Awards, which are presented by the PR Council in partnership with PR Week. They are now open for entries. Go to PRweek.com, and it's actually PRweek.com/Diversity Awards 2018. It's pretty easy to spell, so I think you'll be fine. Check it out. It's a wonderful program we do with the council. Definitely would encourage all agencies and in-house departments that have worthy entries to do so. But anyway, of course, most of all, I want to thank Thomas and
You're
Diana
welcome.
for
Thank
joining me
you.
today on this
Yeah, thanks for
podcast.
having
Steve, I hope you're having fun wherever you are. I actually think he's in the UK.
He
I
is.
won-
He's home.
I wonder if he's invited to the royal wedding.
He's probably why he's there.
Yeah, I would say so now.
I think he said he was avoiding it.
Was
But
he-
I might.
was he
but
avoiding-
don't quote me on
was
that.
he
That's
avoiding-
his cover story.
Was he avoiding it, or were they avoiding him?
Him?
No. Okay. And by the way, and just because we have to get a mention of Donald Trump into practically everything we talk about,
Right.
he's not attending the wedding, right?
No.
I don't think he was invited. Exactly. Interesting. But anyway, that was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys, again for doing it. Thank you all out there for tuning in, and for all you on Facebook for watching this. Thank you as well. Steve will be back in the seat next week. But until then, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks a lot.